In today's video, we dive into a tense encounter where two female police officers try to assert their authority. But this time, the citizen isn't backing down. When a routine stop takes an unexpected turn, things escalate quickly. The officers demand identification, but the citizen refuses. And what happens next will leave you questioning who holds the power in these situations. This isn't just a confrontation. It's a battle of rights, boundaries, and respect. Watch as the back and forth heats up, with the tension mounting at every word. With the officers trying to maintain control, the citizen stays firm, pushing back against what they see as overreach. But will their resolve hold, or will the situation spiral out of control? Stay tuned to find out how this face-off unfolds, and don't miss part 2 where the stakes get even higher. As the scene unfolds, the tension in the air becomes palpable. The citizen, an ordinary person just going about their day, seems unfazed by the officer's demands. The officers, meanwhile, start to grow more agitated, their professional composure slipping as they realize this isn't going to be a simple stop. It's clear they've dealt with resistance before, but something about this situation feels different. The citizen, calm yet firm, keeps repeating their right to remain silent, refusing to offer any identification without clear cause. The officer's attempts to intimidate or pressure only seem to push them further into defiance. But what really stirs the tension is the crowd starting to gather around. A few bystanders pull out their phones, capturing every moment, adding an unpredictable layer to the encounter. Is this citizen just trying to make a stand, or is there something more at play? The clock is ticking, and things are about to reach a breaking point. As the minutes drag on, the situation grows even more charged. The two officers exchange uneasy glances, clearly unsure of how to proceed. One officer tries a different approach, softening her tone and attempting to reason with the citizen, asking them calmly to just show their ID so they can move on. But the citizen's response is unyielding. "I'm not doing anything wrong, so I don't need to show you anything." The words hang in the air, almost daring the officers to challenge them. Nearby, a man in the crowd mutters something under his breath, clearly agreeing with the citizen's stance. The crowd starts murmuring, and it's clear some are siding with the person standing their ground, while others look to the officers, unsure of how this is going to play out. The tension in the air is thick, and the officers begin to feel the weight of the crowd's eyes on them. It's not just about law enforcement anymore. It's about pride, power, and how this moment will be remembered. Meanwhile, a woman in the crowd, her phone held high, is capturing every second, her voice barely audible over the hum of the growing crowd. "This is how they treat us," she whispers, almost to herself. The tension seems to escalate as each word, each exchange, fuels the fire. The officers begin to show signs of frustration. They call for backup, but something in the citizen's calm demeanor makes them hesitate. With the crowd now fully focused on the scene, the situation feels like it's spiraling towards something far more explosive. The sirens of the backup units can be heard faintly in the distance, but the delay is only making the situation worse. The crowd grows larger, drawn in by the growing tension. People are starting to shout, some in support of the citizen's right to refuse identification, others urging the officers to take control. It's a strange standoff, and the officers know they can't afford to back down, not with so many eyes on them. One of the officers, the more senior of the two, steps forward, her expression hardening. She orders the citizen to step aside, but the refusal is swift and unwavering. "I'm not going anywhere," the citizen replies, their voice steady despite the mounting pressure. There's something in their eyes now, a quiet resolve that sends a shiver through the crowd. They're not just standing their ground. They're challenging the very authority the officers are trying to uphold. The younger officer, visibly rattled by the escalating situation, looks to her partner for guidance. The senior officer hesitates, her fingers twitching near her radio. The clock is ticking, and every second feels like it could break into something uncontrollable. A few people are recording now, their phones raised high. Every word, every gesture is being documented, and the officers know it. But they also know their authority is on the line, and it's getting harder to maintain their composure. The backup units are almost here. But in this moment, all that matters is the standoff. Will the citizens' defiance hold, or will the officers make their move? The air crackles with anticipation as everyone waits for the next move, the tension hanging on a knife. Just as the backup units round the corner, a sudden voice cuts through the tension. "You're making a mistake." It's a new voice, a man standing off to the side, his presence unnoticed until now. He steps forward, holding a badge, not of a police officer, but something much more surprising, a lawyer's badge. His calm demeanor contrasts sharply with the chaos unfolding, but his words land like a bombshell. "I represent this person's rights, and you can't do this." The officers freeze, momentarily caught off guard. The crowd, sensing a shift, quiets down, waiting for the next move. The senior officer looks at the badge, then back at the citizen, clearly rattled. The lawyer doesn't back down, his gaze unwavering. He stands between the officers and the citizen, his presence a powerful new layer to the already tense scene. "You're violating their rights." He continues, his tone firm but controlled. The officer's hand twitches near her belt, but she holds back. She can't ignore the weight of the situation now, not with a legal expert on the scene. The citizen looks at the lawyer, a slight nod of recognition passing between them. It becomes clear they weren't alone in this fight. This new development throws the officers off balance. The entire scene has shifted from a simple confrontation to a legal standoff. With the backup still approaching, the officers now face a far bigger challenge, one they hadn't expected. The stakes have escalated quickly, and there's no telling how this is going to end. The crowd's murmurs turn into whispers of disbelief, the air thick with uncertainty. Will the officers push forward, or will the lawyer's intervention be enough to force a retreat? The tension in the air is almost unbearable as the officer eyes the lawyer, calculating her next move. The backup units have arrived, their sirens blaring as they pull up to the scene, but they hesitate when they see the lawyer standing resolutely in front of the citizen. The senior officer takes a step back, her mind racing. She knows the legal ramifications now. If she pushes too hard, it could backfire. Her partner looks to her, seeking guidance, but the decision is no longer clear. The lawyer speaks again, his voice calm but filled with authority. "If you proceed without just cause, this will go much further than a traffic stop. Think about the consequences." His words hang in the air, making the officers pause for the first time. The crowd, sensing the change, falls silent. The senior officer exhales sharply, clearly frustrated, but realizing the situation has gotten out of her control. Just as it seems the confrontation might come to an end, a surprising twist shakes the ground beneath everyone's feet. A figure steps out from the crowd, someone who had been watching quietly until now. It's the same woman who had been filming the whole time. She lowers her phone, revealing her own badge. The crowd gasps. She's an off-duty officer, and she's been recording the entire situation from the start. "I've been watching," she says coolly. "And you're violating protocol. This is being reported." Her words are enough to make the senior officer's face go pale. With the weight of both legal and internal consequences now hanging over them, the officers exchange a look, realizing they have no choice but to de-escalate. Slowly, the tension melts as the senior officer nods to her partner. "We're done here," she mutters, her voice strained. The backup units, unsure of what just happened, start to pull away. The crowd begins to disperse, but the intensity of the moment lingers. As the citizen walks away, a quiet sense of victory radiates from them. They were right to stand their ground, but the story doesn't end here. The final surprise comes when the lawyer quietly tells the citizen, "This isn't over. There's more to come." The citizen, now aware they've just scratched the surface of a much larger fight, nods. The lawyer smiles, but there's a knowing look in his eyes. Something much bigger is brewing, and this is just the beginning. As the dust settles, the citizen and the lawyer exchange a brief, but knowing glance before walking away from the scene. The crowd slowly disperses, still murmuring in disbelief over what just unfolded. The officers, visibly shaken, are left to pick up the pieces of a situation that spiraled beyond their control. The off-duty officer who had filmed the confrontation quietly walks off with her phone, likely to report the incident to the department. The senior officer looks on, regrets settling in, knowing this moment will follow her far beyond today.